The night was quiet in her Dakota apartment overlooking Central Park, when Lauren Bacall sat alone, staring at the fading lights of New York City. The same city that had witnessed her rise from an unknown teenager to one of Hollywood's most unforgettable legends. The room around her was filled with old photographs, of film sets, laughter, and the man whose memory never left her. Her deep, smoky voice, once commanding every screen she touched, now whispered into the silence. To the world, she was the embodiment of poise and confidence. But behind those piercing eyes and that sultry tone lay a lifetime of loss, resilience, and reinvention. Lauren Bacall was a woman who seemed carved from fire and grace, yet her story was one of loneliness, courage, and love that defied time. Her story began on September 16, 1924. In the Bronx, New York, as Betty Joan Persky, the only child of Jewish immigrants. Her father left when she was young, leaving her mother to raise her alone. The absence of a father left a permanent mark, one she rarely spoke of, but which shaped the independent streak that defined her life. Betty was shy, uncertain, yet already drawn to the world of theater. Her mother encouraged her dreams, enrolling her in the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. It was there that she began to discover her voice, low, smoky, and different from the high-pitched sweetness Hollywood usually adored. That voice would one day become her signature, her weapon, and her legend, but success didn't come easily. She started as a theater usher and model, posing for small magazine shoots to pay her bills. One day, her photograph appeared on the cover of Harper's Bazaar, and destiny turned its head. Director Howard Hawks' wife spotted her on the magazine and urged her husband to give this unknown girl a screen test. When Hawks met her, he saw something unusual, a mix of innocence and mystery, beauty and bite. He gave her a new name, Lauren Bacall, and cast her in to have and have not opposite none other than Humphrey Bogart. She was only 19. He was 44. And from the moment she walked on set, everything changed. The world remembers that first moment, her tilted chin, her half-smile, her steady gaze. "You know how to whistle, don't you, Steve? You just put your lips together and blow." That line made her immortal. But behind the confidence, Bacall was trembling. She was terrified of the camera, her hands shaking in her first scene. Bogart noticed. He whispered jokes between takes, calming her nerves. Their chemistry was electric, effortless, and undeniable. Within months, the world was captivated by Bogey and Bacall, Hollywood's most magnetic couple. Their love was as legendary as their films. Despite the age gap, they understood each other completely. Bogart, with his rugged charm, brought stability and tenderness into her life. Bacall, with her wit and youth, reignited his spirit. They married in 1945, in a small, private ceremony. She was no longer the nervous girl from New York, she was now part of Hollywood's royal couple. Together, they starred in a string of classics, The Big Sleep, Dark Passage, Key Largo. On and off the screen, their love was palpable. But their happiness was shadowed by tragedy. In 1957, while Bacall was still in her early 30s, Bogart was diagnosed with cancer. She became his nurse, his comfort, and his strength as he faded away. When he died the following year, she was shattered. The woman who had once said she couldn't imagine life without him suddenly had to live exactly that way. Hollywood, which once adored her, seemed colder than ever. She turned down roles, avoided parties, and poured herself into raising their 2 children. Her heart never truly healed from that loss, but Lauren Bacall was not a woman to be defeated. She returned to the screen, determined to prove she was more than Bogart's widow. She took on roles that challenged her, dramatic, bold, and complex. In the 1960s, she even ventured to Broadway, where her sharp wit and commanding presence earned her critical acclaim. She won Tony Awards for Applause and Woman of the Year, proving she could master both film and stage. Yet, for all her professional triumphs, love continued to elude her. She had brief relationships, even a highly publicized one with Frank Sinatra, but nothing matched the depth of what she'd shared with Bogart. The following decades were a mix of reinvention and reflection. Bacall worked with major directors, starred alongside legends, and carved a new identity as a strong, independent woman, one unafraid to age, to speak her mind, and to challenge the industry's treatment of women. Her beauty remained timeless, but it was her attitude, her intelligence, and her authenticity that made her endure in an ever-changing Hollywood. Still, she often confessed in interviews that her happiest years were the ones she spent with Bogey, the laughter, the late-night talks, the shared cigarettes between takes. He remained her anchor, even in death. In her later years, Lauren Bacall became a symbol of old Hollywood elegance. She appeared in films like The Mirror Has Two Faces and received an Academy Honorary Award for her remarkable career. Yet behind the accolades and applause, she remained humble, the same Bronx girl who had once dreamed of the stage. She often said she didn't miss her youth, but she did miss the people she'd lost along the way. The loneliness she'd carried since childhood seemed to return in her twilight years. But this time, it was gentler, like an old friend. On August 12, 2014, Lauren Bacall passed away peacefully at her home in New York City, just shy of her 90th birthday. The world mourned not only a great actress but the end of an era, the last echo of Hollywood's golden age. Her death was serene, but it carried the weight of a life fully lived, filled with love, heartbreak, courage, and grace. In her apartment, surrounded by photos of her children and Bogart, she left behind not just memories but a legacy of strength and sophistication that will never fade today. When we look at her most private photos, the candid shots of her laughing with Bogey, the backstage glimpses from her Broadway days, or the quiet portraits taken in her later years, we see more than a movie star. We see a woman who lived with authenticity, who faced life's cruel turns with her chin held high and her eyes steady. Lauren Bacall was more than a legend. She was a survivor, a dreamer, and the last voice of a vanished world, and as we remember her, that smoky voice, that knowing smile, that unwavering poise, we are reminded that true elegance never dies. It lives on in the stories, in the memories, and in the hearts of those who still whisper her name. If you were moved by Lauren Bacall's incredible journey, don't forget to like this video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more timeless Hollywood stories. Because legends like her never fade, they simply wait for the next light to shine upon them.